Welcome to the Rise to Shine podcast with Noelle Custis, where we ignite the spark to discover your favorite self. It is time to get real, ladies. Hey there, friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Rise to Shine podcast. I'm your host, Noelle Custis. Today, we have a special guest, Jana Barrett, a fitness and movement coach on a mission to debunk myths about training female bodies, especially for women in midlife. Jana believes women have been trying to fit into a fitness world designed for men, and she now advocates for a revolutionary approach. This method helped Jana navigate a tough divorce at 40 while caring for 3 young children, transforming her challenges into a source of strength and resilience. Jana helps women over 40 transition from exercises that leave them broken, burned out, or bored into a new way of training that aligns with their stage of life. Her approach promotes aging with strength, confidence, and joy, which is right up our alley over here. And she is here to share insights on unlocking our feminine warrior using ancient wisdom and modern techniques. Get ready to learn how to train in harmony and thrive in midlife and beyond. Welcome to the show, Jana. I am so excited, and I know listeners are already intrigued.
Thank you so much for having me, Noelle. What a great introduction. Thank you. You really kind of built me up.
Well, I love to, just boost our guests because I really, truly feel like the women that come on to this podcast, I, number one, feel so honored that you have taken the time to say yes to be here with us. And I am always so intrigued by the stories myself and then just what it is that you're doing. And I know that we have spoken before and we got to connect and I got to learn a little bit more about you and what you're doing. And it is so fascinating, but just beautiful. And I'm really, really excited for our audience today.
I'm really excited to be here with you.
Well, let's go ahead and let's just jump in. First of all, I have to comment on the beautiful background. So, in addition to this question, you will have to tell us where you're joining us from. But I know that we have a ton to cover. So I would love for you to just really start telling us a bit about your journey and what led you to become a fitness and movement coach, especially focusing on women that are in midlife.
Thank you. That's a great first question. So I was a full-time mum at home for almost a decade. I had, as you said, I had 3 children and I was broken, like growing 3 humans and caring for them 24/7 with a husband who was working really long hours and often traveling. I had almost 0 time for myself and my body was showing that to me. So I was always achy back and I didn't feel strong. I didn't feel like my body was my own. And when my youngest was 2 and I put my back out yet again, I thought, right, that's it. I am just not putting up with this any longer. And I hired my first personal trainer. And I could not believe how within 3 months, I was not feeling only stronger physically, but also mentally. And that really surprised me. And I decided right there and then that's what I want to do with my life, to help other women not only to feel physically strong, but mentally strong and mentally resilient. So I started training as a personal trainer, and then that was about 2016. And I started with that traditional weightlifting gym, kind of the classic, bodybuilding split of like back and chest, then tris and bis and a leg day. But It didn't really make that much sense to me. And then I was working at a gym, and then one of my colleagues was swinging a club bell. And I was looking at him going, oh my gosh, that looks way more interesting than anything I do in here. And so I booked a session with me, and he introduced me to TechFit, which is an amazing fitness system coming out of the USA, tactical
Mhm.
fitness, which in those days was still very much focused on the tactical community.
Mhm.
And then I started training with him because I thought, well, I'm going to leave the barbells and the dumbbells, because although I was stronger, I was still quite achy and had a lot of
Mm.
tension in the body. And I sometimes was really burned and exhausted from my workouts. It was just a bit much. And in
Right.
those days, I didn't understand about my cycle, my hormones, how to
Mhm.
exercise, differently in the first phase of my cycle, the second phase, or my menstrual, when I go through my periods. And so I was really working my body very hard. But now suddenly I discovered this whole new system that was very much focused on adjusting your workout to your energy levels, your stress levels, your cycle. And so I got hooked, never looked back, traveled to the USA to certify. So I was the very first female in New Zealand to certify in TechFit, which is a big deal.
Amazing. Yeah.
Big deal. I was quite
It's a
proud
big
of myself.
deal.
Yeah. And then I never looked back. That's what I teach women now. And I kind of fell into the coaching women quite accidentally, because at one
Mhm.
point I looked at all my clients and I thought, they're all like me. they're all women. They're all women in their late 40s and 50s. And how did
Right.
I still coach some men here in
Yeah.
Wellington,
Yeah.
but predominantly I think women are naturally drawn to other women who understand
Mm.
what we are going through, right? It's
Right.
it's liberating to be able to show up to your training session and say, I'm having a period from hell.
Exactly.
You know, I just want to move today. Can we
Right.
just move and make me feel better?
Mhm.
So, they can say that they can be so open about their issues with their teenagers and their husbands and perimenopause and menopause and injuries and hysterectomies and just anything. Like it's such a safe place because I
Mhm.
get it. Chances are I've been through it at some point in the
Right.
few years. So it's I love coaching women. It's nothing brings me more joy than transforming, helping women transform into strong, confident, powerful, invincible, badass beings.
I love it. I love it. And what I love about that is that, you know, it's interesting because you say, I want them to be, the badass. I want them to be these beings that just really, are able to embody that. And
Mm,
traditionally, we think that it's through those hardcore workouts and, all of the things that, we see what's happening in the gym and what's going on with especially men. And that leads me to a couple of things, because I thought, ooh, these are some great things to go off of. Is that you know one of the things that I know we talked about is that oftentimes some of those like hardcore routines that are, the weightlifting and the reps and all of the things leave women broken and burned out, and sometimes even just bored. They just
mm,
get bored with their routines. And so, can you elaborate on why this happens? And then also, after that, I'd love to kind of dive in a little bit to, I loved what you said about training in sync with their hormones and the benefit of that. So, kind of touching on both of those.
mm. So I think generally we can probably agree that we are living in a world that has been designed for men.
Mhm.
And I have nothing against men. I'd like to say that I
Right.
adore men. They bring so much to our worlds,
Yes.
but I think that we have, from the temperature in office spaces, has been, calculated on 40-year-old male
Mhm.
to, just everything that's been designed for men. And I think fitness, it's one of these areas where when most women imagine the gym, it's a very masculine environment, right?
Right.
Most women I talk to feel intimidated and not particularly excited to be entering that space to
Mhm.
cultivate
Right.
their strength and, their feminine strength, really, because
Yeah.
we are extremely strong as women. I mean, we birth babies, we,
That's right.
get through some phenomenal stuff. Every single month we go through a cycle of life and death, you know,
Yes.
finishes with pain and discomfort and our bodies bleeding, like we
Right.
have creatures. But we don't have to be expressing ourselves in kind of masculine strength. We
Hmm.
can be just embodied in our feminine strength. And I
Hmm.
think the gym is perhaps not quite the environment that we naturally crave. I think we more crave the beach, your garden, beautiful feminine spaces. And so
Right.
I think we have been told to go and weightlift. And if some women love it, absolutely love it. And
Yeah.
that is, you just have to find something that really is for you. But
Right.
kind of focus on sets and reps and how much you are lifting and always getting better. It's yet again a very masculine way to exercise, because
Hmm.
what I actually, and what most of my clients want, they just want to move. They
Yeah.
don't really ultimately care how much they are lifting, whether they are swinging a 5 kilo mace or a 6 kilo mace. It's irrelevant, because what we want is to feel good, feel
Hmm.
energized, feel strong and confident. We don't want our bodies to ache, and we want to move. Like, we love dancing, we love
Yeah.
more the kind of yoga style exercise. And so I think naturally we just want to be cultivating our bodies in a different environment in a very different way.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I love that because you're so right. Putting it into perspective of what we do as women and what we go through in our lifetimes, I think we tend to forget that. I mean,
Mm,
not forget it, not literally forget it because we're going through it every month and, we have the babies and do all of the things, but we just have the resilience of it. We continue to
mm,
move forward and we learn, not to complain, but it's refreshing when we can go to other women and be like, oh, this is the worst, I'm going through such a hard time, all of those things. And so I love that there can still be this power and this, beautiful space with movement and getting to move. And I have to tell you, it definitely confirms for me because I could never understand. I would force myself. My husband loves the gym, works out
mhm,
regularly, and really struggles. I mean, he understands that it's not my favorite place, but I tell him it's not only not my favorite place, I actually resent going there. It's not, I don't feel comfortable there. It is
mm,
not, it just, there's so many layers to it, and I feel like so many women express that and are trying to
mm,
find what it is that they can do. And so there's so much that we get to dive into because of what it is that you do. But I would love, before we move into that specifically, talking about one of the things, like I said, that you had mentioned was like training in sync with our cycles and, looking at that in our, especially like in our midlife time. What does that type of training look like in practice? Could you tell us more about that?
absolutely. And this is actually something, considering that I've been a coach for almost a decade, this is something I've only learned very recently. So this is how
Okay.
kind of underground this information is. And I think
Yeah.
that we need to teach this to girls when
Mm-hmm.
they are little, because every woman needs to know this. So again, if you are working out kind of Monday to Friday schedule, or my coach used to write me like a 6 week or a 12-week program, but that's all designed again for male bodies, because
Right.
men have a 24-hour hormonal window. So they
Mm.
pretty much, the Monday to Friday working week really suits them. They can train pretty much every day the same way. Women have a 28 to 35-day hormonal window, right? Because that is
Mhm.
our hormonal cycle.
Ah, yeah.
Immediately, that's massively different, right? And then what women really need to learn, or some of your audience might already know, that different hormones are dominant in different phases of your cycle. And now
Mhm.
I'm just going to talk about women who are still cycling, because there's also women in perimenopause. They're going like up and down. There's women who
Right.
are in menopause because of a natural menopause or a surgical menopause.
Mhm.
So we can cover that a little bit as well.
Mhm.
So in the first part of your cycle, which is the follicular phase, it's when estrogen is dominant. And this is where we feel quite energized and outgoing, and, our communication skills are better. So this is
Mhm.
kind of our outgoing. This is kind of like the spring and the summer. And this is where women can generally train like
Yeah.
men. So
Mhm.
you can, this is where I personally and with my clients do the bulk of our conditioning. So we can kind of
Mhm.
push a little bit, and maybe a bit more frequency, a bit more volume, a bit more intensity.
Yeah.
Then we ovulate, and then we switch into the luteal phase, where we need to start making progesterone, which is our calming hormone. That
Mhm.
is, everything is kind of tied back to reproduction, right? So the egg
Right.
is fertilized, it's implanted itself into your uterus. So you need to chill a bit to give the pregnancy the best possible chance. So
Mhm.
this is the time where women often will still push because they don't understand this. Progesterone is very sensitive to stress.
Mm.
Exercise is a stress. Yeah, it's a physiological
Yeah.
stress. It's a good stress,
Yeah.
but it will be a bad stress if you do
Right.
too much. So this is the phase of the cycle where I would just ease off on training. I would be doing a bit more walking. Maybe I will still be doing, some flows and mace flows, but more focus on mobility. So this
Mhm.
is what a lot of women don't understand. It's that luteal phase where we just cannot train the same way we did. But then it's almost a strength, you do a lot of training in the first 2 weeks or the kind of first 20 days, and then you just ease it off, maybe focus on recovery, mobility, more time in nature. And then obviously then we menstruate, and that is a time where some women already get a massive surge of energy again because the
Mhm.
estrogen's rising. Some
Right.
women need 2 to 3 days just to recover because maybe there's a bit of discomfort or they don't feel a lot of energy. So
Yeah.
this is essentially the female hormonal cycle explained. And it's very empowering to know how to design your training on a monthly cycle, not on a weekly or 6 weekly or
Mm.
on a monthly cycle. And for women who are already in menopause, this still applies because women never really stop being kind of cyclical creatures.
Yeah.
We still, even in menopause, we are still producing a certain type of estrogen, which is called
Right.
estrone. So then what I tell my clients is to align yourself to the moon and maybe tune into your symptoms, because you will still be kind of riding some sort of wave, but it's not going to be as pronounced. But if
So
you've
good.
been observing your cycle and how you're feeling, you will be able to pick up on those cues and then align yourself to the moon. It's not a coincidence that
Yeah.
moon cycle, it's exactly the same length as our cycle, you know.
Right.
So
Yeah.
mm, align yourself to the moon. Have your day one as new
So
moon or
good.
full moon, and then still cycle on that monthly basis. And it's suddenly women get more results, more gains. They feel good. They don't get injured as much. They don't ache as much. So it's a
Mhm.
very powerful information to know. And it is mind boggling how few women actually know
Mm.
their bodies
Yeah.
work. It's
So this is
crazy.
why, honestly, I'm listening to this just going, first of all, mic drop after mic drop after mic drop, because I'm going, oh my gosh, I can't wait to share this with my 22-year-old daughter for her to hear this and understand this, because she loves movement. She loves to work out. But, again, it's like, what you just said is so true. It is mind boggling how many women do not understand how this all works. I mean, I can't tell you how many times, and granted, I've been there too, as far as learning so much about how this is all working as I'm going through the perimenopause, and dealing with that, and really just understanding. I mean, that it feels cutting edge to understand how to work out with that cycle. I mean, I've never even thought about that before. And then if you don't even know about your cycle, like in addition to that, how frustrating that is when you're trying to work out and you're pushing your body to do things that they're not, either able to do, or that you're just in discomfort and you're not finding the joy in working out or moving your body. And it just makes so much more sense. And I just, we could end the podcast right there and we could get people to check this out, because I think it is amazing. And I love that you are educating women on this as part of your practice. It's just, it's so exciting to me, because I do feel like, especially in midlife, but I feel like in midlife, it's certainly something that we need to be aware of. But I love the fact that you said we need to start teaching our little girls about this. We need to start teaching our teenage daughters about this. We need to know these things, because I do feel like it just gives such I'm trying to think of the word for it. I feel like it lends itself to being able to live in more harmony and be able to do the things that we want to do and understand it a little bit, better on a deeper level. So I love that. I love that. Now, I definitely want to get into, I know there's just, you are absolutely fascinating. And I clearly just geek out on all of this, since I've connected with you. But I'd love to go into the whole concept of what we had, briefly spoke about, is this whole idea of like a feminine warrior and how it influences the approach to fitness and movement, and what that can look like. And then leading into, what are some special techniques that you are training women in?
Mhm. So I truly believe that every woman is a warrior because of what we go through in our daily or over the course of our lifetime. And again, we have been just trying to desperately mold ourselves into a man's world, into a man's way of living and being, and the messages that we are constantly getting bombarded with. Because when you said, not many women know how their bodies work, it's because no one teaches us. And the messages are like, we are the weaker sex.
Yeah.
I beg to differ. I
Yes.
absolutely differ, because
Love it.
there's stories of women walking across snowy mountains after disasters for weeks and weeks, while
Yes.
all women have died and the women haven't.
Mm-hmm.
So I really resent, we are
So
not
good.
the sex, and we will let you know as well about that. So we are, infinitely magical, powerful beings. We create
Mhm.
life. We,
Yeah.
turn houses to homes, sperm to babies,
Mhm.
ingredients to meals. We are the universe. We are the creation. We are strong, incredible beings, but we are being, made less just
Right.
by the culture we're living in, sadly. So I'm all about waking up that power in women,
Mhm.
exercise. And, you know, the feminine warrior, I mean, you see it every day in yourself, right?
Mhm.
I just geek out on, like, how potent, and I'm in awe of the female body,
Yeah.
how incredible it is with the hormonal cycles, and how we can really tap into our strengths if we just
Mm.
block out the messages that we are being bombarded with, and realize that you can run your whole life around your cycles. Like I was going
Mhm.
to say, like, I run my whole business around my cycles. I will only launch stuff in the first 2 weeks of my cycle. I
Mhm.
understand that sometimes I just need more rest. So
Right.
I don't do Monday to Friday working week. I plan on a monthly kind of, I
I
create a
love
month.
that.
So yeah, we are the feminine warriors. And I think that we sometimes hiding, and we sometimes playing small. and we are scared to use our voices. And I think that when women become strong physically,
Mm-hmm.
all of that kind of the dam breaks,
Right.
all that, we didn't use our voice and we didn't ask for that promotion and we didn't ask in our families for what we actually really need.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them will just you kind of awaken the inner warrior that we all have inside, but some of us are sadly hiding it. And I was the same. I
Yeah.
got lost in marriage. I got lost in being a mother. I was just serving everyone and not really doing anything for me and feeding my soul and what I wanted to do in the world. And so they cost me a marriage. And
Yeah.
I don't want other women, I don't want my daughter. I have 2 daughters and I don't want them to
Mm,
do that. So I want them to be inconvenient and, unapologetically themselves, because
yeah.
I'm so tired of women just not being allowed to express our divine, our
Right.
feminine warrior divinity, which is just so powerful.
Yeah. And I'm hoping that this is giving hope to other women to understand, I can't tell you how many women, and I'm sure you come across this as well, how many women, especially, when we're focusing on women over 40, the moms, the ones that have been pouring into, like you said,
Mhm.
everybody else. I mean, this is something I talk about all the time, is that we lose a sense of ourselves. And one of the first things that I notice is one of two things happens. Either you have the woman that is all in 150% into working out and making sure that they're, moving their body. And then you have, especially here in the US, I don't know what it's like in New Zealand, but I know for us here in the States, it has become such an issue that women are literally just giving up on themselves, and they're not finding that strength to be able to, or I shouldn't even put it that way. It's not that they're not finding their strength. It's almost as if they're tired. They're tired and they don't know how to do it, and they might not see, we look at body image, and we can certainly get into all of that, but I almost feel like this feeling of defeat and just being exhausted, especially after, I've been through a divorce. I know how difficult that was, raising, kids as a single mom for a long time. It's I remember that was one of the first things that I let go of as well, is letting go of moving my body and, the fitness of that. Of course, coming on the other side, realizing how important it is and how much better I feel, but finding that right approach, and this is where I'm hoping our audience is going to have so much more hope and understanding that, there are ways that you can move and be healthy and feel wonderful and be able to exercise in a way that's not that mainstream what we think it's supposed to be. So I would love to, hear more about. I know that, there is definitely, I know you do lots of things, but I'm definitely intrigued by one of your techniques that you teach, and that is with the mace. And, I'd love to hear about all of this.
Absolutely. So you touched on that women are just that there's so much information now out there about
Mhm.
exercise, and we are getting bombarded by so many messages like you need to strength train. There's been so many books and so many doctors coming out. You need to
Overwhelming.
strength
Yeah.
train. But give me a woman of 50 somewhere in the world who has job and children, probably caring for elderly parents as well, who is going to
Exactly.
set foot into a gym after maybe not moving her body for 20 years or 10 years. I have had women tell me, oh, I'm going to come and see you when I lose some weight, or
Mm,
I'm going to get a little bit fitter before
yes.
I come and see you. And I'm like, no, there is
Uh-huh.
no entry level into this, you know. And then we
Right.
see the yoga and the Pilates, the beautiful 22-year-old with the matching Lululemon outfit with the perfect
Oh,
body.
my goodness.
And then,
Yes.
that's another intimidating environment to set a foot
Yeah.
into a yoga class. You're kind of like,
So
I don't know
true.
if my body looks okay. Can I do this? Like, there's so much baggage around exercising for women. It's
So true.
crazy.
And
And so,
I am you are speaking directly to me because this is who I was a year ago, even just a year ago. I was in that space where you're exactly right. Even going into the yoga and Pilates studios that we feel like, that's the movement and the flow that women crave. Well, guess what? We face those fears too of going, oh my gosh, we're not the perfect shape. And how are we going to be able to even move our bodies that way? So I love that you are touching on that as well.
absolutely. And, who's got an hour? Like, I personally don't have an hour twice a week to go to a yoga studio. I would quite like to, but I
Right.
don't simply have the time. And,
Yeah.
running two businesses and solo parenting 3 children. And I also have a major surfing addiction, which is taking up a lot of my time as well.
Well,
So,
I love that.
so I'm all about just giving women another option, something that only takes 15 to 20 minutes a day, and that is the steel
Mhm.
mace. The steel mace, which is so potent, it combines cardiovascular exercise, because it's another messages we're being bombarded with, right? Once you hit 50, oh, you need to be careful of heart disease and dementia and
Yes.
Alzheimer's and
Mhm.
breaking your pelvis or your hip and
Mm.
osteoporosis and muscle wasting. And so we're just being bombarded, and we're like, I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know.
Right.
And we're scared because we see our moms or aunties or
Mhm.
people in our community breaking hips and moving into assisted living, and it's so
Right.
scary, and women becoming really frail, and kind of they can't live their lives in the way they want to by the time they hit 60 or 70. So we are scared, and we know that we need to do cardiovascular exercise because we know that that's really good for our heart.
Mhm.
We know we need to strength train because we need strong muscles and strong bones, so then we don't become frail and useless older women.
Mhm.
And then we know we probably need some kind of movement practice like yoga or mobility or stretching. So we
Right.
understand now, there's so much research coming out. We understand we need all of these three things.
Yeah.
When many women want to go to the gym 3 times a week, they don't want to start running or walking 3 times a week.
Mhm.
They
Mhm.
don't really want to be going to yoga classes 3 times a week. So here is where the steel mace, ta-da, comes in. Because it's got it all baked in. It's cardio, it's strength training, it's mobility and
Mhm.
flexibility all in one.
Yeah.
While you are essentially doing movements that are like a potent mashup of dance, martial arts, yoga, strength training with a kind of edgy warrior vibe, because the steel
Right.
mace is a warrior weapon. Humans
Right.
have used a steel mace or in some form for thousands and thousands and thousands of years.
Mhm.
And you can create these, you can do really complex movements which you can never achieve in the gym, the barbell. So
Mm.
it will make you stronger for anything that life throws at you. May it be picking up your grandchildren, your favorite sport, um, digging up your garden if you choose
Right.
to, walking 5 miles. So it creates a body that moves well without pain, that is strong and that is flexible, and they can endure a little bit of physical stress for longer periods of time. So that's why I love it so much. And it's 15, 20-minute workouts from your
Amazing.
living room, your home gym, the
Yeah.
beach. I work out in my garden, understandably
Yeah.
so, because it's so beautiful.
Right.
And I love it because I love being in nature. I think women instinctively are drawn to nature. We don't want to be
Mhm.
locked in a dark gym with a full-on music, with mirrors and metal. We want to be
Mm,
in
that's a Good point.
Hawaii, like we want to
Yeah.
be in lush greenery and
Right.
beautiful spaces with fresh air and sunshine. So
Yeah.
again, there is the contrast, right? I mean, where would you like to, Noel, tell me, where would you like to work out? Would you like to go to the gym, or would you like to work out on a beach?
Yeah. I hands down the beach.
Of course, most women would choose that, or the comfort and the safety of your garden, or of your
Right.
deck, or your home gym,
Exactly.
or your living room. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
there is that some women just want to exercise in private. I mean, I had a client who was hit by perimenopause and had periods from hell, to the
Mm,
point that she was scared to go out because she
right.
wasn't sure that she was able to
Yeah.
contain the amount of blood that was pouring out of her. She said,
Right.
I can't go anywhere. I can't, because I don't know if I will be flooding in public somewhere. I need to be able to exercise at home, being safe, and know that I'm
Yeah.
safe, seen. So
Yeah.
there's a whole bunch of women who just prefer to, exercise in the privacy and the comfort of their own homes.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it makes so much sense. And with the exercise of the steel mace, I know we had kind of talked about this, you know, before we jumped on the podcast, but I know you had mentioned that, as far as the weight of it, because I'm thinking about, so someone who is 40 or 50, or, not even age wise, but just even, at the beginning, like starting off, is it something that you can do with a lighter weight to where, you're able to learn how to do those movements and everything and then work your way up? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I have people who literally have never held a mace, and they can come to me for a first session and we can do some movements, because I have very light maces to start with. So
Gotcha.
the starting weight that I give my clients is 4 kilos, which is roughly about 8 pounds
Okay.
for your American or Canadian audience.
Mhm.
And it's a very slow, gradual process. So that's what I also love about it, that you will not be forcing your body into doing something that is simply not ready for. You
Right.
start from very basic movements. Maybe you start with flows that only have 2 movements, and
Mm,
then progress. So it's a very kind of, you can just go at your own pace and really
right.
tune into your body and figure out what is the right thing for you to do. I mean, all of us have had experience where you go to a fitness class and it's way too much.
Yeah.
It's too heavy, too much load. They tell you to do 50 burpees and you're like, oh, I can only do 5.
Right.
What am I supposed
Right.
to do?
Yeah.
So we've all had experiences where our bodies just got so overwhelmed. And I even have clients who have booked a session with a personal trainer and got so overwhelmed
Yeah.
with the complexity, the load,
Hmm.
the sometimes they would not be able to walk for 3 days afterwards. And I kind of think, how can there be coaches that will destroy their clients on a first day? Whereas
Mm,
I'm all about, hey, we're going to go for 6 flows, but
right.
you tell me how you feel. So
Yeah.
my clients understand, or even women that are in my program who are working on their own, they understand that if I feel my form is breaking
Hmm.
by number 3,
Yep.
that's it. I'm
Mm,
not going to go for the rep 4, 5, and 6 that will
right.
hurt you and will not feel good.
Yeah.
I'm just going to stop in there. I'm going to take a bit of a break and figure out what is going on, that I can only do 3. But maybe today is just the day when I'm only just going to do 3. And maybe when
Right.
I feel better, I'll do more. So it's that kind of, we've been told that exercise should be uncomfortable and that exercise
Mm,
should hurt, and then
yep.
you should hurt for 3 days afterwards, and that's a sign of a good workout. No pain, no gain. Like,
Mm,
what is it, like sweat is the weakness leaving your body, and you're like, what?
I know. I
No,
know.
I unsubscribe from all of that. To me, exercise needs to feel good.
Yeah.
I want people at the end of the session, whatever that might be, to feel energized, sexy,
Mhm.
confident,
Yeah.
sensual. They might feel
Love
a
it.
little bit of the next day like, oh, yeah, I like that. I
Right.
want that. But not like, I can't peg my washing because I can't raise
Right.
my head.
Exactly. I can't sit down to go to the restroom because it hurts so bad.
Because then
I
you're
can't
like,
tell you how many times
oh
I've been in
my
that
God.
position.
I know, but how crazy is that? This is what I've been
Right.
told, that it needs to hurt and needs to be
Oh
uncomfortable.
my
And I'm
gosh.
saying, no, I want your movement and your exercise to feel good. So then
Yes.
you look forward to it. You look forward to dancing in your garden with the
Right.
mates, while you're getting stronger and more powerful and more mobile, and you don't ache anymore. And then you walk, with a beautiful posture. That's
Yeah.
that's what I want for women. I don't want the old way of telling us that, it should be this and it should be that. No,
Right.
it could just be
Right.
5 minutes of
Yeah.
mobility or 5 minutes of just swinging the mace around for a bit. That's what I
Right.
want. I want women
Yeah.
to feel good after the exercise. I want them to feel like they've been charged up,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
I
not
love
drained, which is what
right.
my exercise used to do. It used to drain me and I used to have a nap.
Yep.
No, I want to charge you up. So
Yeah.
then you can go, you know, throughout your day, just energized and glowing and shining.
Yeah. I mean, how refreshing. I mean, I know that, when we first spoke, I was so fired up out of our conversation alone just because I thought this is such a refreshing conversation because it's not what you typically hear. And this is something that I do feel like is what we need to hear. It's just so important. And I would love, I know that first of all, we'll definitely be telling our audience how they can, connect with you, and that just because you are, across the earth from us does not mean that we do not get to be connected with you and all of the things that you're doing. But I'd love to even hear just some of the success stories that your clients have experienced with transitioning into this new way of training and the impact that it's had on their lives.
Mm. So I have usually quite active women. Who springs to mind is my beautiful client Gretel, who was a keen CrossFitter. So she was going
Mhm.
to CrossFit classes 3 times a week.
Okay.
She had a screaming hip pain for 18 months. She was
Mm.
still going to the classes. And so then she found me because she was like, I can't even walk. I can't even get
Right.
out of a car. And this is a 50-year-old woman, right, who just loves
Yeah.
being active. And so we started working together, fixed her hip pain within 6 weeks. And then she slowly realized, I don't actually want to go back to CrossFit. I don't think
Mm.
it really suits my body. And then she started doing mace training and never looked back.
Wow.
I had a client who was a black belt in karate and a competitive powerlifter who had
Mhm.
a traumatic surgery and was plunged into menopause overnight. And
Mm.
so she knew she couldn't return to that after, that really painful long recovery. So
Right.
mace training is incredible for her because it's very martial arts like. So it really feeds that part of her that it still remembers,
Yeah.
working with the bow staff and being in the martial arts space. But now she has exercise that workouts that are just more gentler and kind of more suited to the, you know, um,
Yeah.
stage of her life. And then I have women who haven't exercised for decades because they forgot themselves and their family. And this is such a beautiful, gentle way how to bring you back. There's really no outcome or end point. It's
Mm.
just you're just mastering movements at your own pace, and it just feels good. So that's or women who are coming back from surgeries or really bad injuries. It's that
Mhm.
gentler way to make the body move well again and get rid of pain. I think that's the biggest thing. Like I think a lot of women are living in pain,
Oh,
and it's really sad because it doesn't need to be that way. You don't need to be living with pain in your lower back or pain in your hips. Hips is a big one, and I
oh,
think that's
hips.
lot to do with how much we're suppressing ourselves and how much emotion and
Yeah.
hurts we are stuffing into our hips. But you can ease it out with gentle movement.
Right.
The movement is very healing. That type of movement is actually really healing. I have a lot of people that have quite severe mental health issues,
Mm,
OCD, manic depressions, and some really quite serious stuff.
yeah.
But that 20 minutes of that mindful movement becomes the point, of where they have a bit of a break from all the incessant thoughts, and it fortifies them for their day. So, mace movements can become quite meditative in a way too. I mean, I like it because I can't meditate,
Right.
but meditation is being present. So if you're
Mm,
really focusing on breath and you really fully tune into your movement and the sensations that your body has,
right.
then mace flows can turn into a moving meditation for a lot of people.
It's amazing.
You're getting so much, right? You're getting
I
mobility and cardio, and you're getting meditation as well.
I know. It's just I
More
mean,
than one, you know?
right. It's
Yeah.
that is what is mind-boggling to me, just going, "Oh my goodness," it's just it's so much goodness packed into, like you said, it's 15 to 20 minutes of movement, but what an impact it can have on your life. And I love that you have clients that were the ones that were, doing the CrossFit and doing all of that, but have realized, through whatever their experience was, whether it be an accident or an injury, that they're able to continue to move in a way that feels good to them. And then you can also meet the women that haven't moved in a long time and might be afraid to step into the arena again, as they say, and be able to do some of that, and just to be able to give them that space and just, such a profound way to move their bodies and work up towards, what is good for them. And that's what I love too, is that, we all think that it's supposed to be a certain amount of time, and you're supposed to push yourself, but to even give women that yes, to say it's okay if you can only move for 2 or 3 minutes today. And if we have to do that lighter movement, and I just think that is what I feel like, hearing so many women between my age and then even my mom's age, who is going to be 71 in a couple of days. I hear her group of people and friends talking about movement and exercise and how they feel about themselves. And I was definitely already telling my mom, I was like, Mom, you got to tune into this episode. I'm telling you, this is a good one. This is going to be a good one, because I feel like there's so many women that need something like this in their lives. So, which is going to bring me to my final question, and really for our listeners who I know are going to be eager to just know more about this, learn more about this, and connect with you. But, to start their journey towards becoming feminine warriors, what first steps would you recommend that they take at this point?
So download my free guide that
Okay.
explains the cycle and how to train and also eat and rest and fast in sync with your hormones. So for women out there who are still cycling, but this is also for women who are in perimenopause and menopause too. So I have
Mm,
included that in the guide too. So
awesome.
download the free guide it's about 17 pages, I think 16 pages, where I explain in a normal language. So I don't do the science. I've translated the science talk into that. So download that. And
Okay.
then if you want to start with some gentle movement, I'm all about mobility as well. So I have a free 6-day mobility challenge, which you can download on my
Wonderful.
website too. And then for the women that are like geared up and go and say, please put a mace in my hands. This is what
Let's
I
do
want to
it.
do. Then buy yourself a mace. They are so easily bought on Amazon or on it or TechFit websites. Buy a nice light mace and then go on my YouTube channel, where I have lots of free videos how to hold a mace, because oftentimes on social media, you see the really advanced coaches swinging the mace around their body with one hand. And sometimes people have a look at my website and they're like, oh my gosh, there's not a chance I can do that. Yes, you can in about 3 years. I'm about 5 years ahead of your
There you
journey.
go. Yeah.
I was there as well. I was at a point where someone put a mace in my hands and I was like, I don't know what to do with this. So
Right.
just barbell. So I have really tried on my YouTube channel to go to the very beginnings. How do you hold your mace?
Mm,
You switch from side to side. How do you do gentle mobility with the mace? So even before you start doing some fancy movements, just do some gentle mobility. See how your body works. Do you have some
yeah.
tension, some aches that you need to work out? Get moving really well. Take it really slow. And then I have some really basic flows in there, some very basic movements. And then yesterday I coached a quite potent strength flow,
Mhm.
which can still be adjusted to beginners, because I always teach the
Okay.
variations of the movements. So you can actually do, I can have a person who has never held a mace and a person
Mhm.
who's been doing it for 3 years doing the same session, but one
Wow.
is it in the simplified versions. And that's what's so beautiful about the mace too.
Mm,
You might master a very complex movement, but sometimes you just don't feel good. So okay, well, I'm not going to do this version today. I'm going to do the
right.
simple. Yeah. So I've got tons of videos on YouTube, so you can start. Maces are very affordable as well. I think a 4 kilo mace starts at $30 US, I think,
Oh, amazing.
and I still use some of the really light maces too for just some of the gentle days and when I'm
Yeah.
practicing. And so your little beginner mace will last you probably for a good couple of years before you are ready to move up. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I love that. Well, Jana, this has been so enlightening, and I know that I'm just so inspired by all of this, and I really appreciate you just taking the time to share with us. It is evident that not only are you a fitness trainer, but you have such a heart for women and a passion for doing this, which I feel like that just kind of screams off of the screen with you. And I appreciate that so much. And it just really, I just feel, lighter having this conversation. And I feel like, again, this is something that is going to inspire so many women to feel with the confidence to know that they too can thrive at whatever age they're at and wherever they are in their health journey right now. So, we will definitely include all of this information in our show notes. I know that you also have an Instagram page, correct? Because I believe
Yes.
that's where I think that's where I started really kind of just checking everything out. I might have been a little bit of a stalker there, but what is your Instagram handle?
It's Jana Movement Coach.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, again, thank you so much, Jana, for joining us today. And everybody, until next time, keep rising, keep shining, and know that the best is yet to come. Bye, friends. Thanks for joining me here today. Your presence means the world to me. If you enjoyed what you heard, please consider leaving a rating and review. And don't forget to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. Head to the show notes and let's connect. Rise to Shine Co. is ready to support you in coaching, collaboration, life tips, or even a coffee chat. Until next time, keep shining, my friends.